Okay. Hello and welcome to the Cheltenham Exchange preview for the 2023 Cheltenham Festival. Joining me from the Cheltenham Exchange team, we have John the Hammer and Rainman, Bossman, Conman, Ian Rayner. Unfortunately, OJ and Matthew are unavailable, but we have got two fantastic guests that who have agreed to join us to preview all the races on Wednesday, and they're going to give us all the winners. Firstly, we have superstar of the Only Fools Love Horse Racing podcast, the man who is Facile Vega's #1 fan. It's Mr. Harry Beard. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, guys. Harry. How are we all? It's an absolute pleasure to be on. It's a little bit different from my point of view, but listen, any Cheltenham preview night is always a good night, isn't it? So I'm sure you boys are all looking forward to it as well.
Very much so. Are you going all week?
I am, all 4 days. So listen, if the first 2 days, and we're covering day 2 in this, if we haven't had many winners by Thursday, we're going to be struggling. But listen, we'll crack on. We'll try and find a few winners. And
well, if you want any winners, go back and watch our day 1 video. Lauren and Neve gave plenty of good tips. Not sure about
I've seen Lauren's. I agreed with a few of Lauren's, but listen, everyone's got to be on Facile Vega, surely, especially with this rain coming. He's got to be odds on by the time he comes. He's got to be odds on.
And secondly, joining us, we have the man who is probably the original person posting horse racing content on YouTube. We have Mark, the presenter of Cheltenham Chat, who's been profitable for 5 years running, isn't it, Mark, now?
Yeah, 5 years running. There's a bit of pressure on next week because I haven't put any bets up this season yet. So we'll see how we go. I mean, you can't do it forever, but yeah, we've been profitable. We've done well, but you can't keep it going forever. I'll just give it my best shot, Thanks for having me on the show, by the way. It's really nice to be back with you guys.
Nice to see you on here.
Yeah. No, I was on before with you guys before last season, and I enjoyed it. So it's really nice to be back. So thanks for inviting me on.
And I saw you nearly doubled the budget, didn't you, last year? I think it was
last season. Yeah, 792 was the return last season. Yeah, did really well. Took a bad price on the nice guy at 14 to 1. He went off at 18s, but it's okay. Yeah, as long as we make profit, that's the ultimate goal. I'm sure it's the same for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
For all the guys that make the videos, any profit's good because it's really difficult, picking these horses out and trying to find winners at Cheltenham.
I watched your video where you almost put up Shanbally Kid. That's a horse that I'm very keen on myself. So I was really hoping you were going to just change your mind at the end and say I'm going to stick him up.
I just wasn't sure he was going to go there, and it's he's got so many horses for that race, William Allen's. He's still not sure he's going to go there yet, and he's still a decent price. So yeah, we'll see next week. He's still 14 to 1, so I could still put him up yet.
Perfect. Right, we'll get stuck in then to the first race on the Wednesday, which is, of course, the Ballymore Novices Hurdle. Harry, I think that your favourite horse, Facile Vega, should be running in this. I think he'd absolutely beat the crap out of a lot of them in this. I mean, Vega was best at this trip, and I think he'd probably be best at this trip as well. But who do you think is going to be the winner of this race?
I think it's wide open. I mean, the talking horse on the circuit has been Impere Pass. The amount of money this horse has seen has been ridiculous. But for some reason, I just can't warm to him. I just can't do it. And Hermes Allen, the Challo, I'm a big thing with. I'm not huge on stats and trends, but I don't like the Challo record at all. And I think you'd be a brave man if you are going in with Hermes Allen. He's been good course and distance winner. He looked impressive, very impressive. But I think in behind was one of Willie Mullins's 25th string, if that. And I think they were just testing the waters. Listen, I think Impere Pass will beat Hermes Allen, but I think Barry Connell has got a real big threat with Goodland in this race, and therefore I think I'm taking a chance on him. He was really good at the DRF. He showed a really gritty attitude, which I loved. And listen, Michael O'Sullivan has been riding out of his absolute skin all year. He's not likely to have many rides at the festival, but I think he won't beat Facile Vega in the Supreme. But he's got a bloody good chance in this one. So I think I'm going to be taking a chance on Barry Connell's Goodland. Goodland for the good people, if you pardon the pun.
As ABW says.
Yeah, he absolutely loves the horse, doesn't he? He loves it.
And how about you, Johnny? What's your selection for this race?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really competitive start to the day, isn't it, on the Wednesday? And I wouldn't be surprised if any of the top 3 or 4 in the market sort of came home first. But I do, however, think that Gaelic Warrior still has the most talent out of these. Now, I know he has got his flaws with his jumping to the right. And I'm a bit unsure who's going to ride him at the moment, because if Paul rides Empere Pass and Danny rides Champ Kylie, then I think we might end up with Patrick on him, which I'm not so sure if he'd be the right man for this one. But if you can keep him on the rail, keep him out of trouble just behind a leader, tone him into the race, he'll have to be delivered as late as possible, because you don't want him skewing off to the right like that, because that's the sort of thing that can cost him the race. So I think he'd have to be delivered, not on the line, but sort of after the last anyway, at the back of the last, as they say. So yeah, I mean, I followed him all year, so I'll stick with Gaelic Warrior. Of the others, Goodland, I would have been a bit more interested in him if he stepped up in trip rather than down. I think he would have been a really good bet for me in the Albert Ball if he went there, but they've put him back to 2.5 for this, so I'm not so sure about his turn of foot at the end. And also Hermes Allen, I've liked what he's done so far, but again, it's just the form that from the races he's been in, it never seems to translate to this at all, does it? And like Harry just said, then the ones he's beat, you've got to sort of put a question mark over them. So yeah, I'm sticking with Gaelic Warrior. I've put him up in the Ante-Post videos, and I don't see any reason to change now.
Well, just a quick one on that, Alex. Sorry, Johnny, would you be a little bit worried the fact that there's been kind of no talk about this horse whatsoever on the circuit? It's all been about his stablemate Empere Pass. I mean, it's as if Gaelic Warrior isn't even running at the festival. I mean,
it is.
Would that not be a worry for you?
A little bit, and like you say, I mean, I'll be honest, I've got both of them covered at a lot bigger prices. So whoever wins is sort of it doesn't really matter either way, sort of financially. But I just think Gaelic Warrior's I don't know, there's something about him. I just think he's like got a bit of the X factor about him, really. I mean, Empire Pass might go and rock up, but yeah, I just the way he won that handicap last time out, carrying that weight, I thought it was really, really good. And he still had time to mess about at the last and still shit up so. I just thought that was how many of the others would have done that out of this. I'm not so sure many of them would. So I was just really impressed with that win.
And unlike most of these in this race, he's got Cheltenham experience, hasn't he, as well, Gaelic Warrior?
Yeah, messing about for the whole race probably.
Yeah.
Trying to throw it. Well, did throw it away.
Mark, give us the winner.
Well, which one of you guys stays near the track?
That's me.
Alex.
Yeah, because I'm being told that the ground looks like it'll be somewhere between soft most days and good to soft, maybe on the days where there's no rain. Would that be sounding about right?
Yeah, I mean, it was soft, good to soft in places this morning. We've had a pretty much dry day since then. It's supposed to be dry pretty much all day tomorrow until the evening, and then dry most of Sunday as well. So I'd imagine, somewhere between soft and good to soft.
Yeah, because the ground...
It depends on what happens Monday, because there's conflicting reports. It could be anywhere between like 4 and 15 mil of rain. So it all depends on what happens there, really. But yeah, I'd imagine somewhere between soft and good to soft.
Let it rain. Yeah. However, let the gods open it up.
I think the ground's going to make a big difference in this race. I have been looking at In the Pocket quite seriously. I liked that win last time out against 3-Card Braga and Absolute Notions, but I think he'll need better ground. I do wonder why Mullins has got Empere Pass here and Facile Vega in the Suprema. If he needs a race planner, I'd have swapped those two over, to be honest. But the money for this horse has been incredible, really, because he was 7-2 before the previews. Now he's 2-1. He's not done anything to be 2-1. He's just been talked about a lot. But I've gone back through his times in his races, and although he's not beating much, his times are really good. He's running quicker than the other races on the card constantly. Goodland jumps really well. His win in Nathaniel Lacey, his jumping was impeccable. He was taking a half length out of the others at most hurdles. To be honest, my selection will depend on the ground. If it came up good to soft, I think I'd go In the Pocket each way. If it comes up soft, I'd favour Impere Pass. I'm not really keen on Hermes Allen at the price, just because the record of the British horses is poor in this race, especially recently, and I can't take him at that price. It's either going to be Impere Pass if it's soft, or In the Pocket if it's good to soft. Each way.
Okay, thank you very much. Ian, round it up for us.
Well, the two I like have both been mentioned. I like Johnny. I do like Gaelic Warrior. So he's been 3 for 3 this season. Won at Tremor by, what was it, about 100,000 lengths. Won the Munster Hurdle, beating Blue Sari, who's no mug, by 15 lengths. And then what Johnny said about winning the handicap at the Dublin Race Festival at top weight. The jumping's maybe a bit of a concern, but he seems to do it when he's out in front on his own. So I don't know if he's Arlen or just wants to wander and jump right. But I've heard he might have had an op on his back. So I don't know if it's to rectify anything that could be causing him to jump right. And again, what John said, I don't know if it's a concern or not, because I don't mind Patrick Mullins, but it's with Townend going on Imperial Pass and Danny Mullins going on Champ Kylie. It's whether, like what Harry said, maybe it's like a forgotten horse, like a second thought, so to speak. But that'd be my concern. And what Mark said about In the Pocket, I put this horse up as one of my Ante-Post picks. I was just looking here. It looks like he won it on heavy ground at Wexford, his first time out in October, and then won at Naas over 2 mile 4. Again, what Mark said about beating Free Card Bragg and Absolute Notions that have done well since. And was second to Elita Tomp at the Dublin Racing Festival when he won. So he would be my each way play. But I'm going to stick with Gaelic Warrior. Just hope he don't go to the Super Aim.
He won't.
And I'm going to side with Goodland as well with Harry. I watched an interview with Barry O'Connell just before Christmas, and he was talking about his runners over the festive period, and he was really, really positive about Goodland. As soon as the market opened for that race, he came out at 8-1, and a few of us got stuck in. He won that race. Backed him again at Dublin. I thought he was very impressive. But I'm happy to get stuck in at another good price. I mean, I think if he was trained by Mr. Willie Mullins, I think he'd be at least half the price he is. So, yeah, I'm going to get stuck in on Goodland.
Good man, Alex. Good man.
Goodland for the good people. Okay, let's move on then to the second race of the Wednesday, which is, of course, the Brown Advisory Novices Chase. Who should we start with this one? Go on, Mark. Who wins this race?
I think Jerry Colomb, probably. I think he's actually a good price at the moment at 74.13.8. I haven't backed him Ante-Post because I've been told he's a fragile horse, and there was always the possibility with a horse like that he wouldn't go to Cheltenham or he'd pick up some sort of niggle, but he looks like he's going to get there now. I don't like the opposition match, really. I can't work out why Time Hill's only 5-1. For me, that run at Newbury would put me off backing a horse like that. If he wins a championship race at Cheltenham, I'll be very surprised, but it could happen. I don't think the real Walker's quite up to this level. He may be. His jumping will keep him in it, that's for sure. Sir Gerhard going from 2 miles to 3 miles is a crazy idea for me. I can't work it out. I thought he'd run in the Turners, and I don't see a whole lot. Maybe one of the outsiders. Jerry Colomb only beat Braun by 3.5 lengths in the beginner's chase. So if Braun's improved, maybe he could give him a run. But I think with possible soft ground and the ability this horse has got, I think he's a good bet at 7-4, Jerry Colomb.
And Johnny, are you still keen on Time Hill?
Yes and no, really. I think he's got a place chance, but the more and more that I've looked at this race, the more I think Sir Gerhard's going to win it. He's got the best point form out of all of these. He's got the best bumper form out of all of these. He's got the best hurdle form out of all these. He's got course form, which a lot of these haven't. Okay, like he did run over the 2 miles, like Mark said, the first time. He didn't jump great, but I thought as the race went on, the more he warmed to the jumping, and by the end of it, he was jumping okay. I think they'll go really, really slow in this, so I think he'll get the trip, to be honest with you. He won a point-to-point over 3 miles as well. on the other side with Jerry Colombo, I just can't warm to him at all. I think he's a proper boat, to be honest with you. I think he's slow. I think if Sir Gerhard and Jerry Colombo neck and neck over the last, Sir Gerhard will scoot away and leave him at the bottom of the hill. Also on him, Jerry Colombo, the form of his isn't that great. I don't think Balco Coastal is that good. You only beat him by a couple of lengths. And I thought when he hit the front, he didn't really seem to find a lot. I don't know. I just can't warm to him. Also, no course run. All of his wins have been right-handed. He's only ever raced left-handed once, which was in a bumper. And also, the ground might have come in his favour now. That's the one probably positive for him. But they've been saying all year, oh, he wants really, really soft ground, maybe heavy ground. Then all of a sudden they've sort of kind of changed that and thought, oh, he can run on anything now. I don't know. I just not warm to him, like I keep saying. But Sir Gerhard, I think, is like one of your, if you're doing a place ACCA on the day, Sir Gerhard should be the first in it for this. He'll 100% be in the first three, and he's got a great chance of winning it.
Well, I know you've deserted Time Hill, but I'm not going to. I'm sticking with Time Hill again. I put him up Ante-Post, big price. And I mean, his form at the festival is outrageous, really. I mean, I know he hasn't won yet, but he was third in the champion bumper. He was fourth in a Bartlett when, I mean, to me, he should have won that race. He just left with very little room coming to the last hurdle. And then he was second last year in the Stayers. I mean, those three races, he was beat a combined 6 lengths. So, I mean, he's always there or thereabouts at the festival. And I think this is the year he goes from being a bridesmaid to the bride. So
He'll beat Jerry Colombo anyway.
Ian, who's your selection?
The one that Johnny's just dissed. I like Jerry Colombo. So the weather and the soft ground is going to be perfect for him. Won a beginner's chase at Fairy House. So what Mark said about beating Bron. Won the Faheen office at Limerick, and he did surprise me actually. We're saying about the ground. See, all the talk was that he could only run on soft or run on heavy, and won well, I think, at Sandown on the good to soft ground, beating Balco Coastal in the Scilly Isles. It's not my concern is that obviously I do like Sir Gerhard, but I think that's a big. I know he's won the point to point at 3 mile, but it's a hell of a jump to go from 2 to 3. Maybe one each way. Actually, it's a horse that surprised me on trials day at the end of January was Stage Star at 12-1. I think he potentially could be could easily take the 3 mile trip. He could be one around 12-1 that could get in the places. But I'm going to stick with Jerry Colombo.
Okay, and Harry, round it up for us. Who's your selection?
Do you know what? I've heard quite a few mentions about one certain horse, and I think he's got a massive chance. And listen, I don't know how, Johnny, I don't know how you can say that Sir Gerhard, I just don't think he has any scope. I thought his chase debut was awful. If anything, he'd be the place layer of the meeting for me. I think he's got no chance. The real whacker, listen, Ash on our channel, the Only Fools with Horses, is an adamant fan of this horse. And for the life of me, I cannot see how this horse could win a championship race at the festival. I just think there's no chance. But Jerry Colombo, I just think if the ground came up soft or worse, as it was a bog, wasn't it, last year, Jerry Colombo should be a 5s on shot. He would absolutely dot up. But Time Hill's record around Cheltenham, and in particular the festival, is outrageously good. He loves it at Cheltenham. He absolutely loves it. Previous Bartlett runners have always ran well, or predominantly most of them have then ran on well in the RSA, as it should be called. But as I said, they've got a really good record. Time Hill is 6-1, 11-2, and the real whacker's 5-1. Now you're getting a horse who was second in a Stayers Hurdle, who should have won a Bartlett, and the real whacker who won a shite dipper at Cheltenham. How are they the same price? I just cannot understand it for the life of me. Time Hill is my selection in this, although I could see Jerry Colombo just sluicing up. But as Mark mentioned, I have heard quite a few times that he is a fragile horse, and I think you do need a proper battle-hardened stayer. And Time Hill ticks 9 out of 10 boxes for me. And Alex, I know you're the same as me.
That's 2 races in a row we've gone with the same horse.
This isn't a good sign. This is
I
not
know.
a good sign.
Guaranteed to both finish out the places.
If Jerry Colomb is so good and so well fancied, why isn't he odds on?
I think because of the fact he is fragile. I just think that.
But it's not run a no bet now, isn't it? So people would pump into him, surely.
He'll get heavily backed on the day, Johnny.
Yeah,
Right.
but I think the ground's a big issue. Like if the ground was soft and it was declared as soft all around the board, he'd be closer to evens than he would be 2 to 1. Like that is 100% sure. But I just think Time Hill is he's forgotten about in this race. He's really forgotten about.
I thought he'd end up going off like 3, 4, 5 to 1, and I mean he got to 5s and he started to come out a little bit. So, and if he goes out anymore, I might go back in on him. Yeah,
I think he's in each race. Could you see 3 horses beating him in this?
No.
He'll be in the first 3, definitely.
Yeah.
So if he goes more than 5 to 1, I mean, I get absolutely slated for saying it, but he's an each way bet to nothing. He really is. He really is.
A muggy each way is what Cheltenham calls it. A real muggy each way.
Muggy each way, but it's profit nonetheless.
Absolutely. Okay, so that rounds up the what Ian likes to call the brown pants.
Or did Matthew
brown pants
pick him
chase.
up?
Oh,
Sorry?
yeah.
Or did
What did
Matthew
Matty have?
Oh, he didn't really have a very confident selection. He wasn't really
right.
too sure, but he'd probably have a go on Jerry. But he wasn't too worried. Right, we'll move on then to the Coral Cup, which is a bit of a nightmare to find the winner for. My best tip for this race is try and find a Corals bookie because you might get 8 places or 9 places. They sometimes do something stupid like that. So, yeah, if you fancy something at a price, go and find a Corals or join Corals. That'd be my tip. Ian, who do you fancy for the Coral Cup?
Well, I'm going to put 2 each ways, but I think both of these have been talked about in previous previews, and so they've probably been a bit found out. The first one is Beacon Edge. Now, I think he's been running at the wrong trip for far too long at 3 miles, I think the step down to that 2.5, I think, would be perfect. He's been running in a lot of Grade 1 and Grade 2 races. He's going to be carrying 11.9, which will probably be near a top weight mark of 147. I still think it'd be good enough. He was 5th in the champion chase, I think, at down roll behind the likes of Envoy and Conflated, and of course Conflated's gone back and won since. I think he pulled up in the Christmas hurdle, which home by the Lee, should I say, won, and obviously he's a contender for the Stayers. And then
Not the contender, and he's the winner.
Yeah, and he was well beaten into 4th by Tihupu. Again, he's another contender for the Stayers hurdle. And then it went back down to 2 mile 5, which is much, much better. 3rd, and again, another contender for the Stayers hurdle was Blazing Carl. So I think that purely running in that sort of higher grade races, I think will put him in good stead. The other one who I think is an absolute plot job, is probably not the biggest secret in the world, is Langer Dan. Mark of 141, carrying 11.3. I think Skelton's back on board. 3rd, Aintree, behind Dashel Drasher, who's ran quite well this season. There was a race at Aintree. I'll have to just bear with me. Was that the race
after he unseated at Cheltenham?
Yeah, but so five. He was 7th, but 5 of the 6 from that race went out and won since, which was Romeo Brown. Benson, I think, has come out and won recently. Walker on Air won after and qualified for the per attempts. I think it was Whiz Kid, and I think the other one might have been Harbour Lake. And then I think it was 8th in the real kill behind Marie's Rock at Cheltenham. And you could see, I think, after about 2 out, it was totally eased off, trying to get a bit of a lower mark. So I think Langer Dan and Beacon Edge would be my 2 plays in the Coral Cup.
Thank you very much, Ian. Mark, who wins the Coral Cup?
Well, I have a couple of angles that I use. And if you look at my video for day 2 last season, I put up Commander of Fleet and Ashdale Bob. And when I put the bet video up, I put Ashdale Bob up as a win bet. So, but yeah, I've noticed that Gigginstown usually take a chaser who's not quite doing it at Grade 1 level, taking it back into a race like this. They did it with Cracking Smart, who didn't get a good start in the Coral Cup and flew into 4th. Then they did it last season with Commander of Fleet. So I have to say that Beacon Edge was one on the radar. for me. And the other one that's on my radar, another stable at target the race, is Jessica Harrington's Yard. They won it with Super Sunday. Last season, Ashdale Bob really didn't have that great form coming into this and nearly stole it from the front. So the Very Man would be my other selection. It's possible I'm going to put one of those two up as a bet, I would think. The only other one that I've looked up for the race, and it's a right wild card, is Seddon, but I think it's going to go in the plate. But I think John McConnell's starting to get the real Seddon out. The Seddon that Joseph O'Brien was seen on the gallops, but couldn't get onto the track. I think this is a good horse who's only starting to fulfill his potential. So he's one I think that'll go in the plate, but if he goes here, I'll be looking at. But I think because Beacon Edge has been found by everybody this season, I think I'd have to go with the Very Man because he'll be a better price.
Excellent, thank you. Harry, I'm hoping you don't put up the same horse as me, otherwise it'll be 3 out of 3. Who do you fancy?
Do you know what? It's not one that I'm absolutely certain on. This is one of the races that I've kind of taken a backward step towards. I have thrown a dart at it, and it was today, and it was HMS Seahorse for Paul Nolan. Is it, Alex? Is it?
No. I was thinking you might say the same horse when you said the H at the beginning, but yeah.
I know you're going to mention them, but no, I think this horse has got a big chance. Off 143, I think is quite lenient, to be fair. If you look at the likes of Winter Fog, I mean, Winter Fog has now gone up to a British mark of 152. I think that is very harsh. I mean, compared to the likes of HMS Seahorse, who's 143, effectively only got £11 compared to some of the, which in Irish tax is quite lenient, to be fair, isn't it? Ran a good race in the Boodles last year. I thought was coming with a really good run, but then just it was a difficult one because I thought he was going to win, but I thought he was overlooked. I think Gaelic Warrior in Brazil just they were the focus points, obviously 1 and 2. But I think you have to look deeper into that race and realise what's come out of it. This horse then went onto the Curragh for a stint on the flat, won there, and then he's only had 2 starts over in the last kind of year since Cheltenham over hurdles, which was in July 22 and in January, just at the start of this year. He beat Felix Desjy in that race, did it really nicely, I thought, and he just looks like a proper horse now. And for me, I think he looks a really good each way price at 8-1 because I can't see him not making the frame. Camprond would be a danger, but I think he's been well found out now. He looks well handicapped on his best form. He's only £1 above his Punchestown run where he absolutely dotted up. However, I do think HMS Seahorse will just continue the Irish dominance that we are so likely to see.
Excellent. Johnny?
Yeah, I spent quite a bit of time on this race a couple of days ago, and then the two I wrote down for the video here. One of them, they decided not to enter it yesterday, which was a bit of a nightmare, and that was Molly Ollie's Wishes, who I really thought would have a good chance in it. Mares have gone well in this. I think they've won twice. 2 of the last 3 mares have won, haven't they? But I think she's still in the pipe, so I'll obviously be sort of keeping my eye on tomorrow's 5-day declarations for that. The other one I had was, as Ian mentioned, was Langer Down. I think the 141 is an absolute gift. It's obvious what they've been doing with him this season, the way they've been fanning around with him at the back of the field and, running him over silly distances. It's just like blatantly obvious, staring you in the face. So I took the 14-1 on him the other day. I thought that was a good price. Just a straight win back, because he'll probably either win or come nowhere. But I do like Mark's angle there of the Very Man. He's a horse I've followed for the last couple of years, actually. And I do think he's got a big race in him. So it'll probably be one I'll back extra places on the day, because I think he'll have a good chance there off that mark. But for this, Langer Down will definitely be the one for the win purposes.
Okay, thank you very much. My selection is going to be Horton Colour.
I knew it would be.
Yeah. I'll follow this horse to the ends of the earth. Proper
like winning either.
Now. I mean, he was third in a Triumph. Last year, I thought he ran well in the Arkle. Pulled Paul Brian Cooper's arms out for the first sort of half a mile. 3 out, he looked like he was absolutely cruising. To me, I mean, I was on Edwardstone that day, but I thought Horton Colour was going to be the main danger. And then he just tired up the straight. I think he just wasted too much of that old petrol in the first few furlongs when he was very keen. This year, I mean, at Turles when he fell, he was going to beat Fakir Duderie. He would have had French Dynamite in behind, Chak and Poursois. I mean, that's good form to me. Wasn't so good as when he was second, but I mean, in next time out. But I mean, Janadale was one of the talking horses possibly for the Ryanair. So I don't think that's particularly bad form. I mean, off his Irish mark, he was off 146, which I think was an absolute gift. But off 151, I think he's still going to be very competitive. And it's a confident selection from me on Haute en Couleur. That's the one I fancy. Matty actually sent me a list of 3 horses that he likes. There's one that he says he's very keen on, which is it's another Haute. It's Hauturier. He's keen on that one at 20-1. He doesn't know if he'll get in, but if he does, then he'll be getting stuck into that one. So that rounds up the Coral Cup. We shall now move on to the feature race, which is the Champion Chase. Who wants to start with this one? Johnny, who wins the Champion Chase?
You probably picked the worst person to start with this because I just haven't got a Scooby-Doo. I've been round and round and round in circles.
Well, you hate Edwardstone, firstly, so
the only one I've really backed is an Ergamine, but after last time, it's kind of put me off a little bit. But if anyone can get him back right again, it's Willie, isn't it? And it was on the other course as well. I think this course does suit him better. So if it was a very tentative selection, it probably would be him. Edwardstone, I can't get right, can I? I back him and he loses, and then I don't and he wins. So
please don't back him.
I won't back him because I don't want to scupper your chances, So I've watched a couple of other videos, doing the rounds, and quite a few people were keen on Gentleman de Me for a sort of each way stab. So I'd probably put him up as well. I've looked back at that, and I tend to quite agree with what they've said on him. Again, if you're looking at the place market, I've stuck him in a few Accas with Sir Gerhard to place and him and a couple of other horses because I think they've both got good chances to place. So I'd probably put him up as a place only bet. But I want an Ergamine to win because he's the only one I've backed.
Okay. Ian, are you siding with an Ergamine too, or are you going to jump on the winner?
Well, my wallet wants an Ergamine to win because I've got from early on I was putting in Ergamine in a lot of our my Accas and doubles and trebles, but after that the run at Cheltenham when he became third, it really put me off. And that what Willie Mullins was saying about the white fences, I just thought was ridiculous considering he was training in Ireland over white fences as well. But I'm gonna have to eat humble pie, I think, because the last Cheltenham preview we done last year, I couldn't have Edwardstone at all, but I think he's going to be the winner here. Bit of a mixed season. I think he won the Tingle Creek, beat Grenadine, and Shishkin was third, and we all know what Shishkin's done since. Unseeded in the Desert Orchid, what Edited Street won, and then was beaten a short head in the rearranged Clarence House. But I think Tom Cannon gave Edwardstone far too much in that race. And I know he was beating the short head, but for me, he was too far back. And I think they consider probably underestimated Eddie Dijit, just let him run off in front. And I didn't think they was going to... what was that? They thought he was going to fade away, and obviously he didn't and just stayed on and won. But that's the piece I would take from that. And I think that Tom Cannon... won't make that mistake again, and I think he will be the winner. So
excellent, same as me. Got to keep following Edwardstone, and for the same reasons as you, I think he's going to turn around that form, and so does Matty. Matty's on that one as well. So we're all in agreement. Me, you, and Matty. Ian. Right. Harry, who wins?
Oh, I think an Ergamine will win, lads. I do apologise. I really do. Just because
Harry, it all started so well for you, siding with me, and now you're going away.
No. But listen, I think they're going to go like the clappers in here. I think they're absolutely going to go hell for leather. You've got Gentleman to Me who doesn't know anything else but to go like the clappers, and Ante-Post who has to be ridden prominently to have any sort of chance to win this race. If Ante-Post can't live up with the front runners in this, Gentleman to Me, etc., he has got absolutely no chance. Edwardstone, I'm the same as Johnny. I just can't get him right. I literally just can't get him right. There was that bet boost going around on Bet365 of him at evens at Kempton on in December. Everyone thinking this is a good thing. And then he unseats, and then you're like, you just kind of knew something was going to go wrong, didn't you? And then, don't get me wrong, he was good. He was good at Cheltenham last time, but I just think the race was a mess. It was just a mess from start to finish, and I think Energumene, it was just. I mean, I heard David Casey saying, I won't say it on here, but he basically said, "Do you really think the white fences made a difference?" I know that was the excuse that kind of came alive, but it wasn't. Energumene, he will be so much fitter from this race, and he will be. I just think he'll be impossible to beat. And if this ground comes soft, there's no way Edwardstone will be favourite, because Energumene will absolutely relish it. And if the ground is soft, there's only one winner in my eyes, and it'll be going back to Close Sutton with Willie Mullins and Paul Townend.
Well, that's a very confident shout, but by my book, you're wrong.
Right.
It's very good, but you're wrong.
Yeah. Mark, what are your thoughts?
I won't be betting on the race, I don't think. Edwardstone's a horse I got wrong all last season. I started this season getting him wrong as well, but I thought his performance in the Tingle Creek was especially good. His jumping there was really, really nice. I would take him. Alan King's trained champion chasers before, Boy Plurus Steadis, etc. He'll know to get the horse right on the day. He's won over the course and distance, winning the Arkle last season. Arkle winners have a good record in the champion chase. I would just go with him, but like I said, I won't be backing him, but I would go with him as a selection.
See, opposite to Harry, then it's a very underconfident selection, but at least you've got the winner. So, good work. Okay, that rounds up the champion chase. Then we'll move on to the cross country. Some people hate this race. I don't really understand why.
How could you hate this race?
I know
This is superb.
I saw that David Jennings posted an article today about he's ranked all the races from best to worst, and there are a load of people in the comments saying that this race is the worst race. I don't get that. I think it's great. I really look forward to the handicap ones in sort of November and December, and then the graded racing at the festival. So I love the cross country. Never change it. Keep it there. Perfect. Johnny, who do you like?
Yeah, it's one of those races that it's enjoyable to watch. It's not one I don't think to get totally stuck into, is it? But I think it's quite straightforward for me. If it comes up soft, then I think Delta Work will win. If it does dry out a little bit, I think Galvin's got every single chance in it. I think he's a very good horse. He hasn't been over the course, has he yet? Which probably would be a negative. But he's obviously done quite a bit of schooling for it to get the entry. At a price, I quite like Dacia Aber, who's like one of my old favourites as well. I think he's 20-1 on Bet365 at the minute. He's only been over the course once, and he actually ran really well on Trials Day, wasn't it? Where he finished second in that race. So I think he'll improve a little bit for that. And he's a horse that never seems to give up as well, which he'll just keep plodding round, hopefully sort of just off the pace and maybe pick up a place. But yeah, Delta Work for the win and Dacia Aber each way for me in this.
Thank you, Johnny. Harry, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I just think that I mean this race is tough. I just think that everyone was on Tiger last year. Everybody was on Tiger, and I absolutely was all in for him. I thought when the ground came up soft, everyone knew it was going to be a danger. There's one horse that will love this ground, and it was the winner, Delta Work. However, I've just got that horrible slight inkling that it's just going to be a repeat of last year, and the other stablemate is just going to pip the other one. It's not strong. Would you be taking 11-10 on ground that you don't know what's going to happen? I think this is definitely a play on the day. If this is me personally talking, financially talking, if it's good ground, I would give a mention to Back on the Lash. You'll get extra places. You get quite a few. He loves it over these fences. He's been schooling well, and I think Back on the Lash has got a big chance. I know it's off levels, but his win last time was good, and people are not. 16-1 is a huge price. However, if it is soft or worse, Delta Work is a smash up job.
Mm-hmm. Can't say I disagree with you. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I think if it's soft, Delta Work will win. But the yard have got history of coming in with horses that haven't even run over the course, being heavily backed in the weeks leading up to it. The first time Tiger Roll won it, they did that as well. Last year they did it with Delta Work. And I wouldn't be surprised in the least if Galvin did win, if the ground came up a little bit better, because they won't have watered the cross country as much as the rest of the course. So maybe this won't get into the ground on the cross country as much. But if it's soft, I think Delta Work will win. If it's better ground, Galvin's got a good chance of beating him.
Okay. And Ian?
Yeah, I echo what Harry said, actually. There would be the two I'll probably play on the day. One, obviously, Delta Work, what the guys have said about softer the ground, the better for him. He's had a bit of a funny prep run. I think he had did he run in the Boyne Hurdle over 2 mile 5? I've no idea why they've done that, but probably just for a little pipe opener. It was beaten at Cheltenham, but he was carrying top weight by Back on the Lash. I know he'll be on level weights, but I would give Back on the Lash a good each way shot. He's got some great form, some great wins here at Cheltenham. So I reckon he could be second or third. But yes, it'd be Delta Work for me and Back on the Lash to place.
Okay. I probably think Delta Work will win as well. Can't really say too much more than that. One I'd probably look at a price if you can get a few places each way is possibly Snow Leopardess. I thought she ran really well in the Grand National Trial, and I thought she ran pretty well on Trials Day as well. I know it's one of those things where obviously they don't get a weight claim, but I mean, she's in the same boat as a load of other horses as well. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be difficult. But I mean, if you can get 3, 4, probably 4 or 5 places, I'd probably take a look at her. I mean, she's sort of 20, 25 to 1. I'd be interested in that. But yeah, I think Delta Work's going to win. So that wraps up the cross country. We will move on then to the Johnny Henderson Grand Annual. Ian, who wins the Grand Annual?
Well, I'm going to go with another Skelton handicap horse, and I'm going to take a chance on Third Time Lucky. Now, I know I think he originally had a mark of 153 at the start of the season, and I think a similar sort of what we talked about Langadan, and you could see purely he's fourth in the Gold Cup at Exeter, beaten by Grenadine, 6th in the handicap at Ascot, I think beaten by Booth Hill and So Scottish, that we'll look into later on. And you can see that the sort of same thing, trying to get a lower mark, just trots out for the 3 or 4 times that he's run this season. I think he won at Sandown last time out to the beginning of February, beating a Class 2. But you can see they're trying to get a lower mark. I think it's 149 now, 11.8. He would potentially be my play on the Grand Annual. The one I did like is sadly not going to run, which is Alcan Risk. I think he's going
You're telling me,
hurdle.
honestly, he was a good thing in this.
Yeah, that's the one I was going to be on. But Dad's Lad is the other one that interested me. I know he was well beaten last time out at Cheltenham, but with his previous one before his win at Cheltenham, I thought was very good. It's got a mark, I think, about 145, carrying 11.4. So he could potentially be. I'm not quite sure what price he is, but he could be one to look out for. But I want to stick my neck out for Third Time Lucky.
Excellent. Johnny, are you sticking with Andy Dufresne like you did before?
Yeah, I've got Andy Dufresne still down as one of the players in this for like reasons that I mentioned on the Ante-Post video. He's got the course and distance form. Came second last year off same mark, was it? I think. I think he's got every chance. I mean, I think they really fancied him last year, didn't they? Because he was absolutely smashed in on the day, and he just failed to get up. But I think he's got a really, really strong each way chance in it. The other one I've got down here is, I think it's 30th on the list, so it's a bit touch and go. But if this horse gets in, then I'd strongly fancy this one even more, and that's Unexpected Party. I think the drop down in trip will suit. It's been running over 2.5 most of the season. They go hell for leather in this, so I like horses that get further than the 2 miles. He's on 138, so I think he'd be thrown in on that. He's got a higher hurdle mark, so I expect he's still got a bit of improvement, especially at a different distance. If you look back at his form, he's been behind John Bon and Stage Star during the season. This is a totally different ball game to facing, two stars like them. I just think that they smuggle him into the race and then just let him go up the hill, and I think he'd have a really good chance. But we do need, I think, is it 24 going this, 6 to pull out. So there will be some horses probably still double entered, maybe with the plate at this stage. So hopefully there'll be. I need to pick through really and see what's what. But I think he's got a really good chance. He's got a bit of course form as well, if you look back. So yeah, Andy Dufresne, and then if he does go, an Expected Party.
Okay. And Harry, who's the winner?
Oh, I'm gonna put a big price up here. I absolutely love Before Midnight as a horse.
Oh,
Now, listen,
we're on another horse.
Oh no, but listen, as Johnny mentioned, if these go hell for leather, there's one horse that will absolutely love this, and it'll be Before Midnight, because he can go the clip, and he'll keep going. He ran really well at Doncaster. It was the same race he ran really well in a year before, so he kind of targets that race, and it looked like he got tired towards the end, but he still kept going, and that's what impressed me. Listen, people have been tipping Rouge Vif for this horse, for this race. I couldn't get that round my head, but I just think Before Midnight, Sam Thomas is so shrewd. He is so shrewd. He is most certainly one. If you wanted a little plot, there's only one train you'd want, and it's Sam Thomas. You look at the things he's done. I mean, we had the Warwick race that was just a ridiculous trading performance. Was it I Will Do It? That absolutely fairly bolted in after about a year off. Just he's so good for the small yard, relatively small yard he's got. Listen, it'd be such a good winner for Connections as well, with the tough times they've had this year. And I just think this horse has been dropped another pound. He keeps going down the handicap, and I just can't get my eye away from him. So Before Midnight. And Alex, I think we've finally got back on the railroads, haven't we?
Yeah, we're back on the straight and narrow now.
Good man.
So yeah, I'm on Before Midnight as well. Funny you mentioned that race at Doncaster last year. I've got that written down. That mention that race as well. He was second to Fernamble Savola, who went on to be second in the Champion Chase. I mean, this year, sort of talking horses for sort of preview nights tend to be sort of. I think one of them is Frero Bamboo, if he can get in the plate. Before Midnight was only a length behind him at Ascot this year. Another one of the talking horses is So Scottish. But Before Midnight was only just behind him as well at Ascot as well in a separate race. So
yeah,
and he's had his normal sort of target of that race at Doncaster. So it's a pretty confident selection from me, and I think he's a really nice price. Same.
Would you wait on the day, Alex, or would you go in now? Because I think you're probably going to get 5 places now. You're probably going to get Sky usually do 7 or maybe 8. Would he come out? Would he come in at 24?
I'd probably have a go now, and I'd go on 365 because they do their best odds. It's best odds with 365. So I think it's probably worth a go, and you get 5 places. If he comes in, great. If he goes out, you've still got 5 places, but you'll have a bigger price. So yeah, I'd be pretty happy to get stuck into Before Midnight. I'm glad we're back on the straight and narrow, Harry.
Yeah, it's a good thing, isn't it? I mean, it's taken us 3 other races. We've only got 1 left, but hopefully we find one.
If we get the same horse now, it'd be a nice lucky 15 to follow.
Oh, no, maybe quite possibly. One can dream. If you can understand that, one can dream.
Mark, who'd you fancy?
I looked at 2 for the race. I haven't backed anything, and the 2 that I looked at both got backed in. Andy Dufresne and Rouge Vif, who Harry doesn't like. But I think Rouge Vif's chance is going with every drop of rain. To be honest, I think he needs good ground. He doesn't even want good to soft. He wants good. And I think he's a ridiculous price now at 14 to 1. I was looking at him when he was 33s and Andy Dufresne when he was 20s. So I don't really have a selection. I'll use my time up on the bumper because I've been watching all those races all season, but I don't really have a big fancy in the Grand Daniel, but probably Andy Dufresne, just because I think JP is making a huge effort to be the top owner this season, and he has got a lot of well-handicapped horses in the handicaps, and if he hasn't got one, he seems to be buying one just so that he can target every race, the handicaps like Filey Bay, So Scottish, all these horses that he's
Brandy Love he bought as well.
Yeah.
No, he did. Sorry, it wasn't Brandy Love. That was Donnelly's, wasn't it?
Yeah, but Campron's been campaigned to look, to be into favourite. I mean, he's got virtually every favourite in the handicaps at the moment, so he's definitely targeting them, just like the season when he had Dame de Company, Saint Raw, all those horses. I think this year he's making a concerted effort to try and win the handicap, so I'd be watching all these horses, but obviously the prices are poor on them all because of that.
Mm-hmm. Just to add to before midnight as well, Harry, Matty was also on that one as well. So there's three of us have put up a 20-1 selection. So what's not to like?
Exactly. You can't go wrong. You can't
go wrong. No.
Go wrong.
Right, we'll move on then to the final race on the Wednesday, which is the Champion Bumper. John, I know you're very keen on one.
Yeah, I mean, I've been keen on Chapeau de Soleil all season, haven't I? And there's been, he's only had the one run where he faffed about and got beat, didn't he? But I've just stuck with him all through the season, just hoping he's going to reappear. And obviously he hasn't, but he's still got his entry in there. He's 25 on the list, isn't he, at the moment? 24 run.
Yeah,
one of them
to pull out.
But one of them above him in the number in there is running at the weekend. So there's one gone for a start. Because that also
if it runs,
yeah, it won't. Yeah, if it runs, yeah, we'll obviously have to see it on the track at the weekend. But I think he'll get in now. Mullins will pull a fast one, won't he? If he has to get him in, because I still think they're keen on him. If he doesn't happen to make it, I think that's a big if. Then I'd go with Better Days Ahead, who I backed early on in the season, who ties in with Chapeau. So that's sort of like the form line I've nailed McCullers to the mast, really. Obviously, other horses have come out since and looked pretty good. It's For Me, obviously, and then this A Dream to Share, but prices are long gone on them now. So I think there's still a little bit of juice left in Chapeau, but it's going to take a bit of an effort to win this. But I still think that they think he's one of the best in the yard. So I'm sticking with him.
Excellent. And I'm going to stick with my Ante-Post selection from a few months ago, which is Encanto Bruno. Oh, Harry's shaking his head. The dream's over. Encanto Bruno.
Dream is shattered. Trixie it is.
Trixie it is. I think he was very impressive when he came over to Cheltenham in October. It just, to me, it screams like a moon racer type thing. Get him a run over the course in October and then put him away. McConnell after the race said that he was going to come straight to the festival and he was going to have 4 or 5 months of sleepless nights waiting for it. So he's clearly very keen on Encanto Bruno, and so am I. I'm just surprised he's not been backed in shorter than he is. I mean, I got him at 25s and he's now, I think, 12's best price, but I think he's done a lot more than some of the horses that are ahead of him in the market, particularly when you look at how the form from his bumper at Cheltenham has worked out.
Well, we talked about a strong leader, didn't we?
Huh? Yeah, he had strong leader, and there's a few in there that have done well. Mark, who do you like?
Well, I really follow the bumpers. I hear Better Days Ahead is working really well, but for me, the only form you can go on, if you're picking one form, it's got to be A Dream to Share or Fact to File. But I've heard all season that Chapeau de Soleil is the best in the yard. I thought he got an absolutely appalling ride by Patrick Mullins in that race. He's taken him down the inside on the chewed ground, which was obviously the worst of the ground. Honeysuckle ran through it and stopped like she got shot. Then it's thrashed it down with air, and he's just ran through the same ground. And when he pulled the horse wide, it flew up the straight. I still think this horse has got a big chance if it gets in. And he's kept it in the race the whole time. And by what I heard earlier in the season, nothing could live with this thing at home. So I'm sticking with Chapeau de Soleil. If you're going on form, you couldn't pick him because A Dream to Share and Fact to File are the only two you could pick really on form. They're streets ahead of the others on form. But I think Chapeau de Soleil. And if he gets in, I honestly think Townend might ride him. I don't want Patrick Mullins on him anyway. If Paul Townend might be on. And I think Chapeau de Soleil will be my selection for sure.
Good man.
2 votes then for Chapeau. Harry, who do you fancy?
I absolutely loved A Dream to Share's performance at the DRF. I thought I put this horse up on our preview. We did a weekly nap table. I think you guys were actually participating in that video. I think on a few of the guest naps. So I think Ian is definitely on the table somewhere. Yeah. But A Dream to Share was a 7-to-1 shot for me. and I tipped this horse up. It's good to see the money come in. Now, this recent rain would slightly worry me a little bit. I think he is a speedy type. Now, speedy types don't usually win the bumper. However, Fast Vega won it last year. He's now going for a Supreme. Now, I think this horse is full of talent. He's quick. And what Patrick Mullins said after the race last at the DRF, it was kind of as if Patrick Mullins thought this horse was a machine. I think he described the horse as passing him as if he was doing a half speed. He just left him in the mud and he just kicked on. It was a really taking performance. I mean, the Future Stars race that he won has got an incredible record in the bumper. And I think, as Mark said, if you're going off form lines, there's only 2 horses you can go with. And I think A Dream to Share is the worthy favourite from what we saw this year. I think it's a little bit of a weaker division from what we saw compared to recent times. I mean, we've had the likes of Sir Gerhard and Violin. I don't think we'll see one of these horses come out of this race, but I think this horse is talented. A Dream to Share, would I be backing him at 10-3 or something? No, I think he'll drift. So I think he'll win.
Another confident one.
He's probably probably one of my confident ones of the day, especially if the ground was quicker than soft. Soft won't be a problem. Any worse than soft, it would be.
Okay. And Ian, wrap it up for us. Champion bumper.
So Mark just mentioned Patrick Mullins, and I think he's going to be on my pick. My pick is going to be It's For Me. I put It's For Me up back of end of September. It was one of my horses to follow. I was a bit nervous at the time. I hadn't backed him until later on because he kept dragging on and on. He wasn't coming out. There was no entry, so that made me nervous. And then I think the lads at the finishing line talked about when he'd come out and have put him up in their Ante-Post, and that's when all the price crashed and it's gone on from there. But it was mightily impressive, I think, at Navan in January, winning by 10 lengths. It's somebody's point-to-point form. Some of the horses that have come out and won since, which interests me. One was Rock My Way, which was third. He had a win at Cheltenham. And there was also Captain Cody, I think, was in the same point-to-point. And he won a bumper at Limerick for Willie Mullins, which I thought was quite interesting. And there is a slight stat I'll just say. So not many horses that just had the one run normally win the bumper. And I think the last one might have been Q Card, which was in 2010. So I'll just say, just bear that in mind. There are stats there to be broken, but I'm going to go with It's For Me.
Okay, thank you very much. And to wrap it up, Matty's tip for the champion bumper was a horse he's been following all year, Better Days Ahead. I will give Matty some credit here. Matty's last 2 years, that his horses that he's been really keen on for the bumper were Sir Gerhard and then second last year, American Mike. So I mean, he's done pretty well in this the last couple of years, and he's only tends to really back one. So he is very keen on this horse. Best bets then, guys. Best bet for day 2 of the festival. Harry, who's the best bet?
I'll go. You've put me right on the spot here. Do you know what? I'll go Time Hill in the Brown Advisory. I think he's an each way bet for nothing.
I'm not going to come on other people's videos and put up something like Jerry Colomb, so I'll put up the Very Man in the Coral Cup each way.
Excellent. Johnny?
Yeah, I'll go Langadan in the Coral Cup, and then I'll put Chapeau up as like a next best.
Ian?
Well, I'll go something different, and I will go Edwardstone Champion Chase.
And I will join you on Edwardstone for the Champion Chase.
Excellent.
I love Edwardstone. Perfect. So that rounds up day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival. Thanks again to Harry and Mark for joining us. It's been really nice to have you both on the channel. Mark for the second time and Harry for the first time on the channel. Please make sure you go and follow them on YouTube. You'll find Harry on the Only Fools Love Horse Racing podcast. They also do a Twitter space on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, Saturday morning, 10:30. 10:30.
Are you going to be doing those during the festival?
Yes, I think something's going to be lined up. We still need to double check things, and we'll be travelling down, so it might be a little bit of a technical issue, but we'll get something sorted. And lads, I just want to say it's a massive thank you for coming on and letting me come on. It's I honestly, if you're not watching already, make sure you subscribe to the Cheltenham Exchange. It's always a good laugh. And lads, thank you very much for having me on.
Thanks a
Looking
lot.
forward to you buying us a beer, Harry. Can't wait.
Yeah.
I bet you can. I'm old enough now. I'm 2 years older. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Someone said to me, said, "You're not even old enough to have a beer." I said, "Yeah, no, it's all right. I could have been a jockey if I stayed off the beer. I'm the right size for once." But no, thanks,
And
guys.
make sure you follow Mark as well. His Cheltenham channel, Cheltenham Chat, is how you find him on YouTube. I believe you post daily videos, don't you, during the festival, Mark? With your tips?
Well, I'll have to this year. I haven't got any bets up, but I'd like to say thanks for having me on the video, guys. Good luck to all your viewers at Cheltenham, and good luck to you guys. Enjoy it because it's a good time. It's the best time, and I hope Constitution Hill gives you the thrill that I think he will of seeing one of the best champion hurdlers possibly you'll ever see.
Was that a little bit of poetry that you intended?
Yeah.
That was super.
No, I'm mad living. I don't even have any notes. But
Constitution Hill to give us a thrill. Thanks, Mark. Day 3's video, we're going to be joined by Bo from the Rein It In podcast and a massive horse racing fan and horse owner, Paul Beck. Keep your eyes peeled. Best of luck for the festival, and thank you all for joining. Thanks, guys.